Ben Kirira spoke with Zimmerman residents today and filed this report.
Live bullets zinarushwa huku.
On Tuesday evening, Zimmerman residents faced events that will be forever engraved in their memories.
To affect when you affect jana. So jana watu wajalala, hata usaidizi ukitokea stage huko juu na shina tu sneeze.
Hiyo kutumia excessive force kwa kurusha tia gas mpaka ndani ya manyumba, hiyo tumekataa. Juu sasa iliumiza mpaka watoto. Watoto wamekuwa na tension. Mtoto wako na uoga kisikia hizo masauti zikilia.
Residents describe the night as filled with terror and violence. The loud blasts from tear gas and bullets, as seen in video circulating on social media, have led to significant trauma, particularly for children.
Isikiza vijana ni wengi sana. Na unaona wanaiba chakula kwa sababu watu wako na njaa. Ni chakula imeibiwa hapa. Mtu anapewa kigunia ya mchele, ya maharagwe anakimbia naye juu ni njaa.
Residents in the base area of Zimmerman shared their strong resentment towards the police approach in countering protesters during the Tuesday anti-government demonstrations and ultimately the president's manner of addressing the rage by Kenyans.
We just followed you tukifikiria that there is a thing that you're going to do for us. Whereas sai, we seeing nothing. We just seeing youth dying. We only seeing women dying. We only seeing businesses being demolished.
Along the South Road in Zimmerman, a minimart was looted. It took police intervention to prevent the public from exercising mob justice on the looters who had been locked inside the minimart.
Number one, the president is not listening. Number two, amekuwa too bossy. Because the moment, number three, is not reading the mood ya wananchi.
Tuesday night's events have placed the police service under scrutiny for the ruthlessness displayed towards residents. Calls are now being made for the police to focus on dispersing looters who infiltrate demonstrations rather than indiscriminately using force on innocent residents. Ben Kirira, K24, Nairobi.
Journalists across the country have protested against police brutality towards members of the press during their coverage of the anti-government protests. In Nairobi, the procession stopped at Jogoo House to deliver a petition to Acting Inspector General Douglas Kanja, which was received by police spokesperson Rezila Onyango. Here is Majibu Kisao with more.
Journalists across the country have today held peaceful protests against police brutality, targeting those covering anti-government demonstrations and other forms of intimidation. Carrying placards bearing different messages, the procession started at Nation Center before making a stop at Jogoo House to deliver a petition and later marching their way to Parliament buildings.
Kitendo ambacho kilitokea pale Nakuru kwa mmoja wetu kupigwa risasi bila shaka si cha kupendeza. Na pia katika shughuli ambazo tumekuwa nazo hapa jijini Nairobi tangu maandamano yaanze, baadhi ya maafisa wa polisi ambao tuliweza kuwashuhudia, wengine walikuwa wanaturushia vitoa machozi.
Uhuru huo hawajatupa kwa 100%. Bado wanaufinya kidogo. Naweza sema labda ni kwa 70% kama 70 hivi ambao tumepata uhuru. Kwa hiyo hii 30% watuachie tufanye kazi yetu.
When we have police officers who appear to be working with the blessings of the government to harass the media, to do so many other things that touch on that very freedom, it is a threat to our very democracy.
The arrest of veteran journalist Macharia Gaitho on July 17th and the shooting of Media Max journalist Catherine Wanjiri Kariuki sparked the call for protest.
Sisi kazi yetu kupeana ujumbe kwa wanaotazama, kwa mtazamaji, makosa gani ambao tumefanya.
Sisi ndo the messenger, hakuna haja ya kuattack the messenger. Tunachoomba tu ni tushirikishwe tu, tupewe usalama wetu, tusivamiwe wakati tunatekeleza majukumu yetu ya kikatiba.
Led by the Kenya Editors Guild President Zubeida Kananu and the Kenya Union of Journalists Secretary General Eric Oduor, members of the Fourth Estate have also petitioned for payment of media dues as well as a disbandment of government advertising agency.
Leo ni siku yetu kuwasilisha hoja zetu, kuwasilisha malalamiko yetu, kwa sababu wanahabari nchini Kenya wamenyanyaswa kwa kipindi kirefu sana. Tunataka haki. Pesa ambazo serikali imekataa kulipa media, tunataka zilipwe.
We are telling them that no to media censorship. We do not want to see also media being censored all the time. We do not want a situation where government goes without paying the media its dues. We want our rights and freedoms as enshrined under Article 34 of the Constitution to be respected, and that is why we are saying again, Godha tena.
Majibu Kitsao for K24 TV, Nairobi.
Journalists play a significant role in informing Kenyans, but this noble mission often comes at a high cost. The trauma and danger they face in the line of duty is immense, yet their commitment never wavers. Our reporter, Linda Koskei, had an opportunity to speak to a couple of them, and here is a story of resilience amid the trauma.
Screams of fear. This is what journalists experience out in the field to ensure that Kenyans get credible news. Unknown to many, these events can turn traumatic for journalists. The horrifying scenes get stuck in their minds, leaving lasting impacts long after the story has been told. Catherine Wanjeri Kariuki, trying to adapt to her new normal as she nurses her wounds at home. She never knew that leaving the accountancy career would entail so many sacrifices.
Accounts. Yeah, I've done accounts. Surprisingly. But years later, I still felt that I'm not living my purpose.
Her love for the job is clearly evident through her narration.
Like when you're corresponding, today it's political, tomorrow it's current affairs, the other day is a feature story. But I would say right now I found myself passion in agri.
Not until the 25th of June.
In a quiet era, it is not healthy for me, especially mentally. So what I've decided is I'm looking for books and reading books so that it's helping me also help myself to get the healthy mental being of myself. Yeah.
Listening to her, the trauma is evident. Even loud bangs of doors trigger the memories of that day.
It's not easy mentally. It has not been easy. Like today I woke up, I broke down for no apparent reason because somebody banged the door in the house and it was not intentional, but it reminded me.
The trauma goes beyond the victims. It also affects the people who work together. Mumbi Wambugu, a K24 TV reporter and correspondent from Nakuru County, screamed when she saw Wanjeri shot.
She had been shot. I saw the blood was oozing and the flesh oozing from her left thigh. So I was terrified, and she was holding on a grill and I could see her going down to the floor. So my first reaction was, they have killed her.
Journalists go far and beyond in all situations, putting themselves in the front line to bring the truth to the people. Joel Chacha, K24's reporter, and Steve Maura of Kameme TV also fell victims during the recent protests.
Leg was oozing blood. I was in panic, fearing that it's not a bullet, since that perhaps would have, made me lose my leg and I could be unable to walk. Considering previously in our family, my uncle also got injured in the line of duty, and to date he's on the wheelchair. So that was the first fear that came in my mind.
It's all about you and your life. So I had to concentrate on, actually I was not sure if it was a fracture, but when the moment I saw blood, it was so traumatizing.
These stories highlight the risks that journalists face in quest to report the truth. It's not only the journalists that get hurt whenever there are protests or any eventualities. Ezekiel Kariuki, a driver at MediaMax Network, ensures that journalists reach their destination safely. They also get affected. They are always right in the action. Kariuki was among the victims during the protests in Kangami.
Niliona mawe mawe iko juu ya hewa inamwagika kama mvua. Na sina choice. Na wenye tuko nao hatuna choice. Ni kuenda tu, huwezi rudi nyuma, huwezi fanya nini, na ushaamua kuenda ni kuenda. Nilijisikia tu nimeona giza. Nilijisikia tu giza tu imekuja. Kuenda hapo mbele nikajaribu kung'ang'ana ile ati nini ikanilemea. After kunilemea mimi nilikuja kujipata niko avenue.
He narrates how risky working for a media house is.
Maandamano hata tuseme hata juu sasa tumefanya maandamano mingi sana. Na yenyewe unasikia kwa maandamano unasikia kuna watu walikufa, kuna watu lakini haijaitwa hapenia. But for me, imenihapenia this.
The scars are a stark reminder of the perilous path they tread to bring us the truth. The government, to this far, is being urged to step up protection of media personnel, recognizing the long-term effects of these dangers, as ensuring the safety of journalists is crucial for a free and informed society. Linda Koskei, K24 TV.
Busia Senator Okiya Omtata has announced his intention to form a shadow cabinet to keep the government in check after ODM joined hands with the Kenya Kwanza regime. The senator is also planning to go to court to challenge the president's cabinet nominations, urging parliament to reject the nominees, deeming them unconstitutional.
Some of us will be constrained to set up a shadow cabinet, because what will be happening now, we shall no longer be having a presidential system where you have got majority and minority sides checking the executive. We shall have a de facto parliamentary system where power emanates from the House, and therefore some of us must be constrained and will be constrained to set up a shadow cabinet that can then effectively check the excesses of this government, this mockerel that has been visited upon us, whose character we don't know, whose purpose we don't know. But as they say, if it walks like a duck, if it swims like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, then it's a duck.
What is being demanded of them, whether by Gen Zs or Alpha or X like myself or the baby boomers, is that they occupy those positions knowing that there is a requirement that they exercise good governance, that they respect the Constitution, and know that under Article 76 of the Constitution, those offices are given by way of a public trust, and they need to do it in a manner that dignifies and gives respect to the people that elected them.
Elsewhere, a petition has been presented at the courts seeking authorization of a referendum to remove President William Ruto and his deputy from office of alleged incompetence of the Kenya Kwanza regime that has been pronounced through the recent revolt by Gen Z youths calling for accountability and an end to corruption. Ventura Kwamboka with the details.
Over 10 petitioners are now seeking a referendum that seeks to remove President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua from office over what they term as gross violation of the Constitution and incompetence of the Kenya Kwanza government.
They have violated each of the 14 chapters of the Constitution, from the sovereignty of the people all the way to public finance in Chapter 12, all the way to security, public service. They have actually, within 23 months, succeeded to violate the Constitution so abundantly that it is no longer acceptable that they can be allowed to continue with these flagrant violations of the Constitution.
In court documents seen by K24 TV, the petitioners argue that a lack of good faith by the government in addressing the people's grievances that have in recent times been scaled up by the eruption of Gen Z civic revolt. Among the reasons for ousting the president with his deputy are the diminishing capacity of the government to address the challenges facing Kenyans and the diminishing legitimacy of the Kenyan presidency to steward the affairs of the state and the nation, bad governance and failure of the government to hold constitutional order during socio-economic and political crises. Following this, the petition is now seeking judicial intervention in calling for a referendum to terminate Ruto's tenure, since the people no longer have trust in the legislature, which they say cannot be trusted to impeach the head of state.
Parliament has ceased to be a watchdog. It has become a lapdog of the executive, and every Kenyan knows that. So we don't expect that Parliament can impeach these two. The people are the ones who hire, as Professor Ogola likes to say, and they can fire. And they shall fire these ones before the end of the 5 years.
While castigating Ruto's stewardship and scrapping off some critical programs such as Linda Mama, among others, the petitioners under the Kenya Bora to Itakayo group further wants the formation of a 5-judge bench to listen to the matter cited as urgent.
Kenya Bora to Itakayo has therefore asked the Chief Justice to empanel a 5-judge bench to determine these matters and grant the people of Kenya a referendum to impeach the 2 state officers who have violated the Constitution. This matter is of high priority because KBT seeks to give the country a way forward for removing the 2 from office through constitutional roadmaps. We want every Kenyan, wherever they are, to know that no one is above the law and above the Constitution. Everyone shall be held accountable. We cannot give you the highest offices of trust only for you to use the offices and privilege to sabotage our economy, violate the Constitution, and treat us like tenants in your estate.
All the 11 petitioners argue that Kenya is facing an existential threat brought about by alleged incapacity, unwillingness and incompetence of the Kenya Kwanza government.
We formed the referendum committee.
Bentura Kwambuka, K24 TV, Nairobi.
The 3.5 billion has been set aside for the enhancement of salaries for the police, according to the David Maraga Task Force recommendations. According to Budget Committee Chair Ndindi Nyoro, further, the National Assembly Budget Committee has set aside 3 billion for the coffee cherry fund and 2 billion to clear coffee farmers' debts.
Provided money for coffee cherry fund, Kenya shillings 3 billion. And Honorable Speaker, we have also provided monies 2 billion to start paying the coffee debts owed to coffee farmers, Honorable Speaker, and coffee societies. Honorable Speaker, we have provided monies for sugar reforms, which we continue, Honorable Speaker, to provide for us to continue supporting our our sugar-cane farmers. Honorable Speaker, we have provided Kenya shillings 1.5 billion to act as the defense of raw milk prices, so that the milk prices, the dairy farmers, can get at least 50 shillings per litre, Honorable Speaker, every now and then, even when there is abundance of the feed, Honorable Speaker. We have also provided, Honorable Speaker, monies, 2 billion shillings, that will go into purchase of coolers. There we have a different program before, where Kenya was to have this program with Pollard. And therefore, Kenya was to provide only 10%, and then Pollard was to give us 95% in terms of loan. Honorable Speaker, what you have done, Honorable Speaker, is to provide 2 billion Kenya shillings that Kenya government will no longer rely on any other country. We want to buy these coolers as government and supply to the farmers of Kenya, Honorable Speaker.
Well, we'd love to take another break right here on K24 Evening Edition. On the other side of that break, my colleague Chris Migwambo is already in studio, ready to give you some sports news for the day.
When it's a Saturday, there's only one entertainment.